has ever seen, just as we had just a short time ago. We will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America healthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Great again. Great again.
Hey guys, welcome to the American Tribune Live. Thanks for joining us today. I am Todd Peterson, and we had to talk about this. I want to say we've reached a crescendo, but I hardly doubt that with the way TDS has completely destroyed normal people's brains. And maybe that's not fair to normal people out there. We're highlighting politicians, media pundits. I don't know if these people ever had a chance, but the fact remains there are 48% of the people in this country that voted for Kamala Harris, if you believe the numbers. So there's a lot of work to do in waking people up. Now, on one side, you got the narrative, oh, people regret voting for Donald Trump, which is absolutely not true. Not a single person that voted for Trump hates what's happening right now. In fact, we want more of it. If you argued, I'm disappointed in Trump, he's not doing enough, I'm listening. I would love to shut down more of the border, build more wall, deport more illegals, stop these wars sooner, send me more of my income back to abolish the IRS, abolish income taxes, give me the Doge dividend yesterday. So you could say he's not doing enough or not doing it fast enough. And I understand there's a whole bureaucracy to undo, but I'm listening. But if you say, I really regret voting for Trump because I don't like that he's rooting out corruption, and I don't like that he's bringing a close to these deadly, catastrophic wars in Eastern Europe and the Middle East, and I really don't like that he recognized men and women. We should allow people's delusions to take over society and our political structures. I don't know what to tell you, folks. So this show's for you today. I guess this is kind of an entry into your thinking, your worldview. I try to be nice. I want to welcome people that didn't vote for Donald Trump or sat out the election. I want to change minds. The MAGA tent is big enough for everybody. I want all Americans in the MAGA tent. I don't want to compromise with them. I don't want to reach out a hand and say, let's just meet in the middle where our hands meet. Like, no, you need to come to the MAGA tent. We've tried being nice. I'm not going to be mean once you're here. I'll say, welcome aboard. Let bygones be bygones. I did an episode, I think, last week, 2 weeks ago with Rand Paul. I think I took a lot of heat, but I think it was the right approach. Rand Paul came out belatedly, said, I endorse Donald Trump enthusiastically. He's doing the right stuff with Doge. He's doing the right stuff with some other things that he's seeing here. He didn't support Donald Trump all that much in the election. I think he voted for him. I mean, how do you vote for Kamala Harris? But people are piling on him saying, welcome to the party, late Rand, not. So you got these MAGA voices out there that are like, they're basically gatekeeping the movement. I don't want to gatekeep the movement. I want the movement to keep growing, gaining momentum. If you come to the MAGA tent today, tomorrow, in 4 years, if you vote for the America First agenda, and it's the first time in your life you've done that, welcome aboard. I want everyone to be on board with the America First movement. How can you not be? And as I lay out some of these clips today, I am just left dumbfounded. Like, how are you not already on the MAGA train? But again, come now, come later. Eventually, just come over. This show, I just want to highlight what your side, if you voted for Harris, if you're opposed to Donald Trump, this is what your side is saying right now, and it just makes zero sense. And I'm going to lay out my case. This is where I'm at. I fully support what Trump is doing. I voted to secure the border, deport illegals, violent illegals especially, to bring a close to foreign wars overseas, to recognize the division between men and women, to allow me to keep more of the money that I earn. I work 7 days a week on the American Tribune. My partners and I do. We're working every single day. And you're telling me that I owe the impoverished, the poor, the oppressed more of the money that I make? I invite everyone to go out and make their own, the American Tribune. Go make your own company. It takes a lot of work. You get unpaid for years as you're building up your structure, but eventually it pays off. And you know what? Maybe it doesn't, but you tried, and good for you. So I feel that I owe nothing to other people out there. The government doesn't deserve a dollar from me. So that's where I'm at. And I think Donald Trump's actually going to eliminate the income tax, which will make him the greatest president in history. That action alone, abolishing the income tax, can you imagine? But Democrats are mad about all of that. They said, I want more corruption. I have clips today, folks, of Democrats defending the corruption. I have Democrats arguing that it is unconstitutional to get rid of unconstitutional organizations. There is nothing in the U.S. Constitution that defends the bloat and waste of an unelected bureaucracy. You can look, I encourage you, go read the Constitution, and I will wait in the comment section. I will refresh the page every 5 seconds for someone to say, like, oh, look, right here, right beneath the preamble, clause 1, section 2 of the Constitution, it says, and the American people will be governed by an unelected bureaucracy that makes powers and decisions over them regarding their theft of income taxes, regarding rules and red tape. And there's somewhere in the Constitution, I'm sure, that says we're allowed to initiate lockdowns and max mandates and force you to get a jab if you want to go collect a salary. I'm sure it's in there somewhere. Maybe I missed it before. You let me know, Dem voters, in the comments below, where in the Constitution any of this unelected bureaucracy. When we say deep state, we are talking about this: people that whose entire salary is dependent on your income taxes getting stolen from you, that they then make decisions not on behalf of the American people, but on behalf of their own organization, the people writing them their checks every 2 weeks, the ones that are going to guarantee their lifetime pensions, again, at your expense, the American taxpayer. That is the deep state. People acting in their own self-interest or in the interest of their organization, certainly not the interest of you as an individual, you as a nation. So we are rooting all of that out, and people are big mad. So we have now reached the point where Democrats are arguing that rooting out corruption is evil. Donald Trump is a dictator for trying to shrink the size of the federal government and rooting out the corruption, exposing the corruption. I don't even know if we've rooted it out yet. He's exposed it, but somehow that makes him the bad guy. That's where we're at. Democrats are saying that Trump is bad, Elon Musk is bad, not the corruption itself. I can't even wrap my head around that. And again, I am trying to reach out to Democrat voters, so-called independents and moderates. I don't know what that is anymore. You can call yourself a moderate and think you're moderate all day long, but this is not a both sides are wrong situation. You have one side trying to return freedoms to you, trying to shrink the federal government, trying to end the endless bureaucracy. And you have the other side arguing for more corruption, fraud, waste, grift, abuse, laundering. There's no both sides bad argument anymore. It is either you are for the American people or you are against the American people. We've got a clip of a congresswoman questioning Elon Musk's allegiance to the United States. I have so many comments on that. It's the first time you've ever heard a Democrat question the loyalties of an immigrant. I have so many comments on that. We always hear about, oh, they just want to come here and be part of the American experiment. They want to support America. All these illegals that come here, don't question their loyalties, even though they wave the Mexican flag, even though Ilhan Omar's up there. I got a clip of Ilhan Omar. She's waving her Somali flag. She's saying that I represent Somalia first in the U.S. Congress. Don't question their loyalties. You need to question the man who recognizes that America gave him everything, gave him every opportunity, is supporting the America First movement. But yeah, let's question his loyalties. It's astounding, folks. And I got Liz Warren, because I hate all of us a little too much here, but I got Liz Warren talking, getting big mad on the, I can't say late Joy Reid because it kind of implies she died, but the now canceled Joy Readout show. Liz Warren made an appearance earlier this month, just hyperventilating over Donald Trump and co-president Elon Musk rooting out corruption, because we've never had presidents appoint people, appoint advisors, tap someone. Remember John Kerry was like the climate czar? No one voted for him, but Dems didn't shriek about that as he's trying to get rid of your gas stoves, gas-powered cars. You know, he's jetting around the world in a private jet, consuming more fossil fuels than you will in your lifetime on a single flight to Davos. But he was appointed. Nobody cared. And he was doing horrible things. Elon Musk got appointed, and he's doing great things. But yeah, let's get mad about that now. So I'm sorry, folks. Dems have lost the plot. If you're a Dem voter and you bought into the lies and the hoaxes for the last 10 years about Donald Trump, I really do encourage you, if you want to dive into the show here, I encourage you to go back to our channel, go to the American Tribune Live with Todd Peterson. One of the first episodes I did, it was 2.5 hours debunking Trump hoaxes. And again, I was really nice about it. And I always ask the question, if they're willing to lie to you about one hoax, what else are they willing to lie to you about? But we debunked the koi pond. Remember when they accused Donald Trump of killing all the koi fish and just unceremoniously dumping food into the pond? We debunked that. We debunked, obviously, Charlottesville. That was the big one. Joe Biden launched his campaign on that massive lie. It was always a hoax. Russian collusion, bloodbath, going after Liz Cheney. 2.5 hours of debunking countless Trump hoaxes. And again, if you are a thinker, an honest thinker, and you hear one hoax debunked, the 2019 phone call with Zelensky, quid pro quo, and we stand that up next to Joe Biden actually saying, I quid pro quoed them. I said, you're not going to get this foreign aid unless you fire a prosecutor looking into Burisma and my son and Zelensky and all that. And if you are willing to engage in that content and willing to accept that they lied to you about these narratives, and you're willing to ask yourself, what else are they lying to me about? That's going to change your opinion on Donald Trump. Just yesterday, I think it was, Jake Tapper, fake Tapper of CNN, he's actually written a book about how the media colluded with just the entire regime, like the media apparatus, the political class, the establishment, all colluded and told you that Joe Biden was the best version that we've ever seen. He's sharp, he's on it, he's leading these meetings, he's waking up and going for runs and doing push-ups every day. They said we were crazy if we were like, Joe Biden doesn't look healthy. Joe Biden seems to have lost a step. He can't even finish a sentence. He just meanders on these random tangents. He's just making up words as he's stumbling through speeches. The teleprompter was undefeated against Joe Biden. We were called conspiracy theorists. We were fact-checked on Facebook. We had posts demonetized. We were hit with fact checks when we just featured clips on Joe Biden stumbling on a beach. And we're like, healthy people don't just like fall over themselves everywhere they go, trip up the airplane steps, trip on the beach where they are. He was over in Normandy. He allegedly pooped his pants. He couldn't even walk straight. But we got hit with fact checks because, no, Joe Biden was fine. And then remember when the debate happened and you were suddenly allowed to talk about Joe Biden's senility? Jake Tapper, one of the main purveyors of this false narrative that Joe Biden was healthy, has written a book about how the media covered up Joe Biden's decline. You can't parody this, folks. The Babylon Bee couldn't have made up this headline. That would have been a bridge too far. Like, that would have even been a stretch. Like, oh, fake Tapper of CNN, and here he is saying Joe Biden's the best version we've ever seen. Writes a book on how the media covered up Joe Biden's health. Like, even they couldn't have come up with that headline, and that actually happened. This is in real life. What a timeline to be alive in when Jake Tapper, who for years lied to you about Joe Biden's health, published a book about how the media lied to you about Joe Biden's health, and he's somehow trying to like call them out and be the good guy in all this. It is absolutely insane. Absolutely insane. I got to start with this story, though, and then we'll get to the clips here. So you want to talk about Dems losing the plot, Dem logic reaching an all-time low. I remember during Trump's first term, we always wondered, like, gosh, Melania is a beautiful woman. She's not causing any controversies. She's beautiful. She's a former model. She speaks well. Former model who made all sorts of magazine appearances and now is first lady. Not a single one. For 4 years, folks, Melania Trump did not get on a single magazine cover. They didn't do any interviews with her outside of like Fox News. Separate comment about Fox News, but she was on there. But she is beautiful. She is eloquent. Michelle Obama was on a magazine every week. Jill Biden would wear curtains. She was straight out of The Sound of Music for these 4 years. I don't know where her wardrobes came from. Ripped down the curtains in the White House. Oh, these are old. These are from the 50s. Hey, let's make a dress for Jill Biden. She was on magazine covers. Don Lemon just came out and said that Michelle Obama is much better looking than Melania Trump. So to start off with Dem logic, just understand these people have their brains so warped. They have been melted by TDS. And I think I mean this literally at this point. I think their brains have actually short-circuited. The media, through its brainwashing, has actually rewired people's brains. So when I say melted, I actually mean that they're not functioning to 100% capacity. No sane person, no honest person, no real human being would ever suggest that Michelle Obama is better looking than Melania. This is just not a thing. Now, I love the comments under the post here. This is just blowing up X today. So there's a lot of people posting side-by-sides of Big Mike and Melania. And again, there's no debate. No person would actually tell you Big Mike is more attractive, better looking, more beautiful than Melania Trump. But I do love the comments because Don Lemon, with his gaydar, of course would say Big Mike is better looking because Don Lemon is attracted to dudes. So I don't know if they're just like, is this the shadow government, like the Illuminati, messing with us a little bit? Like, I know you guys all say Big Mike is a man. So here, we're going to drop this little nugget here just for you to have fun with. He said Michelle Obama is better looking. Wink, wink. So yes, if you need more confirmation that Barack Obama married a dude and we actually had a transgender first lady for a while, I don't know. It's pretty compelling argument right there for you. But also hilarious. Just hilarious that, even if Don Lemon were not gay, he's not the only one saying this. People have, she didn't make a magazine cover for 4 years. They all said it basically in their own way. But no, Melania Trump is more beautiful, better looking than Michelle Obama. Not even worth debating or arguing. This is just a fact. I am stating a fact. But this is where Dem logic has gone. They do not function anymore. So they are actually convincing themselves in their messed up brain, it makes sense that Michelle is better looking. So we had to lead with that story. Again, is it the most important story of the day? No. Does this move the needle on politics and releasing the Epstein files, which they said was going to happen today? No. But hilarious nonetheless and revealing nonetheless. You have people out there actually suggesting Melania is not a beautiful woman. And that's just not true. It's just not true. All right, let's close out some tabs here now that we made that story. I'm going to lead with this one here. I have never heard of this woman before. She looks sickly. I don't know who's voting for this. I don't know who's donating to this campaign. Her name is Marcy Kaptur. Actually, let's see where she's from really fast. We'll look her up here. Marcy Kaptur represents the 9th District of Ohio. And again, this woman does not look well. This is par for the course. I mean, term limits don't fix this. Age limits don't fix this. Voting fixes this, like primaries fix this. We need to stop sending these decrepit, frail, corrupt people to Congress. This is a voter problem. This is not an establishment problem. I got to be clear on that. This is when I go on, I guess I'm mean to everybody on the show. I guess the truth hurts sometimes. When it comes to the Marcy Kapturs, I don't care how to pronounce her name. When it comes to people like this is 100% on voters. I expect there to be decrepit, frail, corrupt people who aspire to be elected officials. Why wouldn't you want to be an elected official? There's zero accountability ever. You get a nice salary, you get travel benefits, you get money under the table, you get to feel important, like, oh, look at me, I'm a representative. This is 100% of voters, though, because how in the world are you sending this woman to Congress? How are we sending AOC, Ilhan Omar? I forget the name of the gal in Texas. She was a Republican that has been living in a nursing home for like a year. Nobody noticed. Nobody said anything. People elected her. Voters need to do better just all around. So yeah, term limits don't fix it, because then we'll just get Marcy for 2 terms, and then we'll get someone else like Marcy for 2 terms. Like, eventually, you need to run someone solid in a primary, and voters need to educate themselves enough to be like, I want this person. They're actually putting my interest first. But we're going to lead with Marcy here. She warns you about Elon Musk's allegiances. It's a pretty wild clip here, especially when I talk about it on the back end. But here's Marcy, good old Marcy, making you concerned about Elon Musk, because we don't want to have too much corruption exposed. We better question his loyalties.
Mr. Musk has just been here 22 years, and he's a citizen of 3 countries. I always ask myself the question, with the damage he's doing here, when push comes to shove, which country is he loyalty to? South Africa? Canada? Or the United States? And he's only been a citizen, I'll say again, 22 years.
Like, when I talk about Dem logic reaching a new low, it's clips like this. She is sincere in her beliefs. She believes what she's saying. They believe their lies. They know they're lying. It's kind of one and the same. How can they hold 2 thoughts at the same time? Well, they know they're lying because none of this is true. It doesn't hold up any water, as I'm going to point out in a second. But they also believe these lies because they've been that brainwashed by others, by themselves. I mean, you tell yourself a lie enough, it becomes real. So 2 things are true at the same time. They believe this lie, and they also know they're lying deep down. That's why these people age so poorly. That's why they're so insane, because they hold competing viewpoints at the same time. The cognitive dissonance actually tears them apart as human beings. It rips apart their souls. But Marcy wants you to believe now that Elon Musk, he's only been here for 22 years. And I have questions about that. If I should be worried about Elon Musk's loyalties to the United States after being here for 22 years, okay, does that mean we can now open up the table? I can question the loyalties of every immigrant that's been here for less time and maybe more. There's no limiting principle on this argument. She could have come out and said Elon Musk has been here for 50 years, and I don't trust his loyalties because he's still immigrated here. Like, again, there's no limiting principle in this logic. Marcy has opened the floodgates now for us to question the loyalties of every single immigrant, especially illegal immigrants. And now we can talk about that, which is bizarre because the entire time Democrats have been saying diversity is our strength. We need more Indian H-1B visas in tech because you, as the American that went to college for 4 years, took out enormous sums of money, were promised a job in the tech field. No, you're going to lose that out to an Indian that's willing to take less pay, work longer hours, get no accolades. So So is diversity our strength or not? They, and I do have to make this point too. They actually don't love immigrants. Dems don't love illegals. They don't love legal immigrants. They don't love any of these people. They don't care about these people. These people are pawns because they hate America and they hate Americans. I got to make that distinction. Democrats open up the border to ruin this country and make your life worse and make you on edge. Am I going to get assaulted today? Will my daughter get assaulted today by this violent illegal that got released out of a Venezuelan prison? That's all it is. It's because they hate you and hate this country and they want to ruin it. It's not because they have this unending empathy. They love so much. These poor illegals are just trying to come make a better life. It has nothing to do with that. It has everything to do with hatred of you. So let's get that message straight as well. But Marcy, 22 years, we got to question his loyalties. So it is fair game now, as we have been saying for a long time. And again, I got an Ilhan Omar clip we'll play in a second. Her loyalties have not changed. She is 100% in favor of supporting Somalia first. That's how she views her role. You can make that case, and I made the case over on X here. I said this is really no different than Ilhan Omar. I'll get to an Ilhan clip in a second. This is also no different, though, than every Democrat that espouses DEI. If you're in the Congressional Black Caucus, and I'll just pick on the black community for a second because it's so prevalent everywhere, but it's so obvious as well. Any Democrat in the Congressional Black Caucus that identifies as a black congressman is also practicing the same belief structure because they don't see themselves as American either. They see themselves as supporting the black community. Cori Bush, Ayanna Pressley, they don't care about the rest of America. I mean, I would make the case they don't care about the black community. How has Maxine Waters' district improved in 30 years of her service in D.C.? Cori Bush, the same thing in St. Louis. Did St. Louis get better because Cori Bush was a black representative of her black majority community? Absolutely not. They never make meaningful, measurable change. It just gets worse, in fact, because they convince their voters that they're victims of some oppressive system. And if you believe you're a victim, why even try? Well, the system's holding me down, so until we change the system, my life won't get better. So you become completely helpless. You ignore all the free will that you've been bestowed by God. Harmful stuff for sure. Most politicians support Ukraine and Israel. We've never said anything about this. And again, I'm making the point. I'm laying it all out. All the illegal immigrants, all of the Ilhan Omars, the Cori Bushes, the Ayanna Presleys, the DEI politicians, all of the politicians that had Ukraine lapel pins, had Israel, I support Israel, we need more tax dollars going over to Israel. Marcy has never called out a single one of these clowns. The first time she's ever questioned someone's loyalty is Elon Musk. Again, let that Dem logic sink in. Marcy was fine with politicians sending your tax dollars to Israel, sending your tax dollars to Ukraine. I bet Marcy, I wonder if we could find this. I think Marcy supports Ukraine. Kapoor works energetically to keep the flame for Ukraine alive in Congress. I'm actually reading from her website right now. We're just doing this live here. Let's see. I got a picture of her giving a speech with a Ukraine flag in the background. She visited Ukraine as a young woman. What are the odds? She's a steadfast ally. Oh, we got a picture of her wearing a mask. Oh, here's a nice picture. On this Congresswoman Marcy Kaptur's website, Congressional Ukraine Caucus. We have a Congressional Ukraine Caucus. Good God. But she has a picture of half the American flag and half the Ukraine flag split down diagonally. Boy, there's a lot of news about her supporting Ukraine. Jesus. So Marcy Kaptur, again, I'll never get her name right. I don't care. She's meaningless. She's just a blob in the machine. But this elected representative, I think she represents Sandusky, Ohio. I see a picture of that might be the big theme park there. This woman, I question her loyalties. Is she more loyal to the United States or Ukraine? In that she's going to call out Elon Musk. This is Dem logic, though, folks. This is Dem logic. We need to be concerned about Elon Musk being here for just 22 short years. How many Americans are younger than 22? But let's question Elon Musk. And again, Elon Musk, who has made his fortune in America, certainly has a little bit of gratitude for that. Supported Donald Trump in the America First movement, not the globalist communist movement. He didn't support Kamala Harris. The America First movement, and he's trying to shrink the size of the government, which gives you more money and more freedom back as an American citizen. He's trying to close the border, deport illegals, but somehow that's not American. These people are insane. These people are absolutely insane. Speaking of insane, though, we got to get to this clip. This is Scott Jennings over on CNN. Scott Jennings, I think he's going to get the Presidential Medal of Freedom at the end of Trump's 4 terms. This guy puts up with absolute nonsense every single day. You've got this just unhinged lunatic. His name is Teray, I think. He's never right about anything. He views the entire world through a race-oppressed lens. He's a race grifter. I don't know the gal. There's a few. Everyone on this panel is insane. But you have to listen to this case. And this is why we talked about Dem logic reaching absurd new lows, because they are now making the case. This is in context of discussing Doge and Elon Musk. And again, it always comes back to Elon Musk. They tried for 10 years to make it stick on Donald Trump. We're not buying it anymore. So now Elon Musk is the new boogeyman. Ooh, Elon Musk, he's unelected. Elon Musk, this and that. I have concerns about Elon Musk. Neuralink, anybody? The Boring Company? If you guys want to go down some rabbit holes, just look up Boring Company and ask yourself, why are we digging massive holes in the ground? And it gets really fun when you look in, I'll say prehistory, alternative history. Look that up and why people had to live in caves before. I sometimes wonder if we're getting ready for a massive event, pole shift, geomagnetic excursion. Are they setting up bunkers down there? So wild stuff, to be sure. Neuralink, they want to put a chip in your brain. They want your consciousness on Mars. I hate all of that. But when it comes to Musk's role in exposing corruption in the government, again, how are you opposed to this? If you're more mad at Donald Trump and Elon Musk for exposing the corruption and not as mad or not just completely outraged at the corruption that they've been exposing, something is wrong with you. But here's Scott Jennings. I'm just going to play the clip here. This is their logic. Dems are arguing that we need the unelected bureaucracy, the unconstitutional bureaucracy, the blob in D.C. that the Constitution does not make any mention of. Somehow we need to maintain that to fight, resist Donald Trump, who they're saying is acting unconstitutional, even though the Constitution grants the president's powers. And again, I'm old enough to remember when Joe Biden abused the Constitution. He wanted you fired from your job or not allowed to go to your job until you got a jab. He wanted you to mask up. He wanted you to lock down. He wanted to lock you up if you questioned the 2020 election. I mean, Joe Biden was a tyrant. He went after his political opponent. This is literal third world stuff right here. They made up charges against Donald Trump. They made up charges against regular Americans, J6ers in prison, abortion protesters in prison, Catholics getting targeted by the DOJ. But yeah, Donald Trump's acting tyrannically now because he wants to root out corruption in the government. Yeah, good one, guys. But let's take a listen to this clip right here.
Can we be real for a moment that Doge is not about cutting money, right? It's not about spending. It's about shrinking government so that it'll be too small to stop Trump with whatever else is in this plan.
Why would the government stop Trump? Isn't he the head of the government? You're saying the government would be too small to stop Trump. If Trump's the president, why would the government, the bureaucracy, be actively trying to stop him?
Because he is shredding the Constitution and creating an authoritarian dictatorship. That's why.
And no matter who was in office, I'm going to hold them accountable. But more importantly, I'm going to make sure the government is working for the American people.
Both of you all made an interesting point, which is that your view is that Trump is shredding the Constitution. I'd like to hear more about that. But that it seems to me that you all both believe that the unelected part of our government, the bureaucracy, has a responsibility to resist the political leadership. Is that your view?
That's not actually
That's
what
not
we
at all
said. We
what I
said they
said.
are
Yeah, it is.
upholding the Constitution, the principles of the Constitution, and at times
How
that we
is
have
Trump
seen.
shredding the Constitution?
My God, he's like, should
I
we
mean,
go to
seriously,
He
do we
doesn't
have to
believe in
give
the
you a
balance of
civics
power,
lesson
Scott.
that we have?
I don't know,
we put all power in the executive
How is
branch.
holding the
The
government-
legislative branch, the FBI. Now we're in control of the military. We're
Yes.
silencing media.
Commander-in-Chief,
This
head
is
of
what
the
you
military.
do
Yes,
in a
executive power.
dictatorship.
Are you suggesting that the president is not the commander-in-chief of the military?
I am suggesting that the president is going to put in charge somebody who is going to contravene the Constitution. And at some near point, this conversation will look very silly for you because it will be obvious. And right now, you're
Wait,
gaslighting.
he's gonna
but when we
put-
get to the actual
he's
rubber
gonna
of the
put-
road of
I'm
this,
sorry.
it will be clear.
I'm interested in this conversation. He's going to put someone in charge who will contravene the Constitution. Like who? What do you mean by that? The president is in charge of the military, is he not? You said he's going to put someone in charge of the military?
The president is in charge of the military. That is how it works.
He was elected president. We, according to the Constitution, vest all executive authority in a president. And the concept that the military should be an independent agency or that the bureaucracy should resist the political leadership of this government is extraordinarily dangerous.
That's what we said. That's such a straw
not what
man.
we
It's
said.
That's
ridiculous.
literally not what we said.
I'm just repeating back to you your own
I
words.
did not.
Wild stuff. Again, Dem logic. I probably should have prefaced the show by saying this, that Dems actually don't have any principles or foundational beliefs or logic that they can base that off of. I guess this is an important point. So let's make that here, and then we'll break down the clip a little bit. You can't really have logic or a logical worldview if you don't have any foundational beliefs or principles, and Dems have none. So they will argue in the moment about something. They'll make a claim in the moment about something, hyperventilate about that, something or something about that in the moment, but then they can easily contradict themselves later on because, again, they're not making a statement from any core beliefs. They're just making a statement about how they are losing power or they're trying to gain power. That's all this is for Democrats, for communists. How can I get power? And I'll say whatever I need to in the moment to convince people or persuade people or accomplish or achieve that power. And then later on, if something comes up that contradicts my previous statement, no problem. We'll just make a new statement up. We need to, these people said it in the onset of the clip. We need the unelected bureaucracy. We need the federal bureaucracy to keep a check on Donald Trump. And so Scott Jennings says, so what you're saying is we need the unelected bureaucracy to put a check on the constitutionally duly elected President Donald Trump, the executive branch, who's in charge of the military, who's in charge of the apparatus. No, we didn't just say that. Yeah, you did. You guys said that. They don't even know what they're saying. And then I love the pushback on how is he a dictator? And this, I have a clip here of someone making fun of this. I'm asking my Democrat voter friends, family members, neighbors, community members. I live in Minnesota. They all vote Democrat. No one has ever explained how he's a dictator in a coherent manner. And as they said here, they're like, how much time do we have? Should we list it off? Oh, I don't even need to list it off. Just give me one example of how he's acting as a dictator, a fascistic, tyrannical dictator. Just give me one example in bullet point form, 10 seconds or less, elevator speech, go. How is Donald Trump a dictator? They can't. They'll be like, oh, well, we need a lot of time to really break this down. There's so many things that he's done. And then they run away from the conversation because they actually can't point to that. Again, they hold multiple views at the same time. They actually don't believe anything. They are told he's a dictator by other people. They kind of just get off in a circle jerk of like, oh, you think he's a dictator? I think he's a dictator. And they never stop to ask the question like, well, what is he doing that's dictatorial? Again, I can give specific examples of Joe Biden acting dictatorially, creating a massive unelected, corrupt federal bureaucracy, people that were not elected but just put in place that can usurp the powers of elected officials. Every government regulatory agency that's been captured by the community they're supposed to be overseeing. The executive orders, the mandates from Joe Biden. But what has Donald Trump done? Again, you are arguing that having a more secure border for your nation state is not constitutional. Okay, you're arguing that we should be drawing down the funneling of taxpayer dollars overseas. Okay, I'm not sure how that's unconstitutional. Firing bureaucrats, how is that? Where in the Constitution does it talk about how we need to have bureaucrats, unelected, unaccountable bureaucrats? Again, let me know in the comments below if I misread the Constitution or I skimmed over that part too fast. But I'm going to tell you right now, it's not in there. And so when Scott Jennings says, let me read this back to you to make sure I understand your argument. You're telling me that we need the unelected bureaucracy to hold the elected commander-in-chief in check. And they say, that's not what we're saying. We're just saying that, the establishment. Well, what are you saying? These people's arguments make zero sense. But again, when you don't have a principle to base your logic on, to base your worldview on, this is what happens. It all falls apart. They're going to scream about him needing to be held in check by something. Last time, and I love the comment on checks and balances. What do you mean, Scott? Checks and balances? Yes, the checks and balances exist with the judicial, legislative, and executive branch. And no part of that trifecta is there an unelected bureaucracy. That would be the fourth branch of government, the unelected bureaucracy. Legislator are your elected officials. Executive branch is your elected president. And the judicial branch are the judges. Where do all the rogue agencies, the three-letter agencies, all the cabinet positions, and I understand that Constitution allows for a little carve out of cabinet positions, but we've gone way too far. And then if you want to spiderweb branch out all the other agencies that exist now, no, just no. But that's Democrats for you. Donald Trump's a tyrant. An unelected bureaucracy is good. Yes, we need more unaccountable, unelected officials like Anthony Fauci. Do you want a world where you have a million Anthony Faucis making decisions for you? They collect royalties and everything. They get paid by big pharma. They don't care if you live or die as long as they get massive wealth. But sure, they actually do want that. I mean, I said that facetiously and rhetorically, but they actually do want that. Democrats love the experts. They love appealing to authority. They love an expert class, except when that expert contradicts what they're supposed to believe here. So it turns out the climate's not warming because of man-made intervention. Turns out COVID's not really scary. Then they don't want to listen to those experts. But otherwise, we love regime propagandists, narrative repeating experts. All right, I had to get to this clip here. Liz Warren, Joy Reid. If you didn't hate yourself enough already this morning, I'm sorry. Here's Liz talking about something related to Doge. Try to follow along. Again, this is Dem logic. This is all they have left at this point.
I want to say what was really lovely about what you just said is just to remind people we built a government to work for all of us.
Yes.
You know, we're just all better off if, in fact, the bird flu gets under control and that our eggs won't kill us. We are all better off. We're better off. We make these investments in infrastructure. We make these investments in our payment systems so people don't get cheated. That's how we keep the economy going. And look, bless everybody who gets out there and makes a fortune. Bless everybody who gets up every day and goes to work. But understand the underpinnings of all that are something we all invested in. And now we've got Donald Trump and his co-president Elon Musk, and they're just running a wrecking ball through it. And it's not like it's an abstract problem. It is really and truly the kid who needs an aid to be able to sit in class so that they can get an education, taking that aid away and maybe taking away that whole classroom. It's these very real ways that people are touched by this.
Wrong on everything. Just wrong on everything. If we abolish the Department of Education at the federal level tomorrow, I'll just go on the school rant for a second because Liz decided to fearmonger and emotionally blackmail on that charge. Nothing would change. Now, access to some funding might change, fine, but every state has its own Department of Education. Every school district is locally operated. Those schools will still function. Every kid will still go there. And you know what school districts might have to do? They might have to fire all the administrative bloat. They might have to rearrange some people around. Make no mistake, some personnel decisions would have to be made. But if they actually cared about kids, they would make those choices too. When I was assistant principal, 2 different districts in Minnesota, St. Cloud included, where I went on my Smalley rant. Do you know how many people I had in my meetings that didn't interact with kids every day? How many administrative positions exist? High-paying administrative positions. We're talking 6 figures, good benefits, and not one of us really interacted with kids. As an assistant principal, sure, you're in the lunchroom and you're heading into classrooms. Like I chose to do that. You don't have to. There are plenty of assistant principals that sit in their office all day and hide from the realities. But there are so many positions in district office, in HR. You could absolutely, if a DEI, do you want to talk about the DEI waste? When I was in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, this was right after George Floyd overdosed on fentanyl, height of BLM stuff, and our superintendent said, we need to have a DEI office. So they made up $500,000. This is my best estimate. They had several new people brought on board. They created a whole new department, an equity department, because equity didn't change learning outcomes, didn't stop kids from punching their teachers or fighting each other or running out of the classroom and in the hallways. It didn't make our families more aware of what their kids were doing or more responsive to their kids' needs in schools. Didn't change any of that, but we paid a couple people a lot of money to indoctrinate the teaching staff at our school. You could get rid of all of that. And I think actually Donald Trump, with one of his mandates, got rid of DEI and government offices. So school districts are government. We'll see if they actually follow through on that. So yeah, if you're worried about the kid that needs a para, they'll be just fine if the school district is not greedy. And again, all these 6-figure folks, they all love to talk a big game. Equity, I'm in it for the kids. I can make more money in the private sector, but I choose to work in the school system because I care about kids. All right, then how about you resign your position and say, I want to have 3 new paraprofessionals hired in my place? They won't do that. They'll never do that. They don't care about the kids. They care about their cushy little salary. Minnesota's got a great pension system as well. These people are in it for themselves. And honestly, if they were honest about it, I wouldn't care. I wanted to be an assistant principal rather than a teacher because why wouldn't you? You get paid way more money. It was awesome. So, but I walked away from it. Couldn't be the bad guy anymore. I'm supposed to be talking to these. And again, the irony is it was immigrant families. I had some 9-year-old Mexican gal. Her family didn't speak English. And I'm supposed to tell this family that, you know what? Little Suzanne over here, she wants to go by Johnny now. And I'm the one having this conversation. I was supposed to educate this family on what trans means. I thought, do we respect immigrant cultures or not? Or do we impose our own cultures of transgender insanity on them? So I walked away. I walked away from the entire system. It would have been a great gig, made a lot of money, great retirement plan. Couldn't do it. Couldn't be the bad guy anymore. So then I joined the American Tribune as well, and I've never looked back. But Liz Warren trying to fearmonger you that schools won't operate anymore, classrooms will be shut down. I mean, this is the first time I've ever heard a Democrat say we should be worried about class sizes. My entire time in the government school system, I made one claim. We need smaller classes. That's it. Everything else will take care of itself. If I have more time for each kid and I have less behaviors to deal with, every student gets more of my attention. This is it. That's all we need. Everything else will fall into place. And I was told time and again, studies show that class size doesn't matter. You could have 40 kids or 20 kids and learning outcomes are the same. And I'm just like, this doesn't make any sense. Oh, we should hire another assistant principal instead of another teacher. We should hire someone at district office instead of open up this classroom. So they would always tell you the Dem talking point was that class size doesn't matter. And they would never fund smaller classes, even though they had money. Money is fungible. It's tangible. You can move it around. You can allocate it differently, but they never would. They said, we need another HR person to dish out this and that nonsense. We need another equity department. So let's hire 2 more DEI trainers. Never teachers, never people that impacted kids directly. So now Liz Warren wants you to think that we might shut down that entire classroom. You guys have been doing this already. Like Dems have already been shutting down classrooms. Where I taught in Brooklyn Center, Minnesota, again, I'm estimating $500,000 for our equity department that was brand new after George Floyd killed himself. We could have hired, I think conservatively, 5 more teachers. We had the building space for it. That would be, I was at elementary. That's 1 teacher per grade level that we could have hired. All we had to do was move the money around differently, and we chose not to. What does that tell you about their priorities? It tells you that Liz Warren is lying to you about this. Oh, no, they're going to shut down a classroom. Yes, you guys have been actively working against smaller class sizes for years. So I don't feel anything for that. But again, Liz Warren, the point she is making is that you need to feel scared about what's going to happen if the government funding goes away. This is a problem with the larger mindset of Democrats. Turns out, everybody, you don't need government for most things in your life. You actually don't need the government at all. You could privatize everything the government does, save for maybe working out international trade agreements, a little bit of defense. I'm fine with the government controlling the military apparatus, securing our border, and working out conflicts among states. Like, that's really it. You don't need government to do anything. And even I'm always like, I like government for the national park system. You could probably get away with that too. A national park that people paid to get into out of their own money and not just like some nebulous idea of my tax dollars paid for this park, so I'll go there for free now. No, you paid for it. Make no mistake. You could privatize the national parks and things would only get better. They'd be cleaner. They'd be safer. They'd be nicer. So you don't need government for anything. Again, my Democrat voter viewers out there, you don't need the government to take care of you. Let's just go to the 19th century when there was barely any government. You had people settling the West. They didn't rely on a government check every month. They had maybe a little military presence to fight off the savage Indians out there that were trying to destroy their communities and burn their homes and assault their women. But other than that, you just took care of yourself. You survived on your own. Immigrants that came here at the turn of the century, they didn't have any welfare programs. They lived in miserable apartment buildings. They worked horrible jobs. And then they made a better life for their kids. Again, no government involved in any of that. There wasn't even government oversight in the job, so they were working these deadly, dangerous jobs all day. They were probably like, we could use a little bit of government protection here, but they had none of that even. So you don't need government. You can send your kid to a private school. You don't need any Department of Education. You can vet the school yourself, pay that school a certain amount of money if you agree on the price, or find a different school to shop around at. You don't need government for the school system. Roads, have you ever been on a toll road before? People can monetize that as well. Toll roads are the nicest roads you'll ever be on because they have a profit incentive. They have to make money for people to drive. If they want to make money, cars have to drive on that road. Parks, you can absolutely privatize parks. You go to theme parks all the time. You pay for that park experience. All of it. Folks, you don't need government for anything. Liz Warren is trying to fearmonger, emotionally blackmail, saying you have to have this big, unaccountable, bloated bureaucracy. Otherwise, how are you going to wake up every morning? Folks, you don't need government for any of that. And the larger point that she is obfuscating, because Liz Warren is a lying hack. I mean, Pocahontas, she lied about her ethnicity. If not for lying about her Indian heritage, she never would have been hired at Harvard, never would have had a narrative to campaign on. She would have been a nobody. Liz Warren does not deserve to be where she's at all. I mean, we got rid of George Santos for lying about his resume, but we're fine with Liz Warren lying about her resume and then getting to stay in the Senate. Something is really wrong with that. But she doesn't care. She does not care. Liz Warren is arguing against uncovering corruption. And Democrat friends, Democrat voters, Democrat family members, you've got to ask yourself, what side do I want to be on? Do I want to be on the side that wants to root out corruption, or do I want to be on the side that is opposed to rooting out corruption? This is truly a black and white situation here. Either you want corruption exposed and rooted out, or you don't want it rooted out and you want it to continue. And then you got to ask yourself, well, I pay taxes. Do I want my tax dollars to go over to Mozambique to circumcise men? Do I want my tax dollars to get Ukrainian and Russian civilians slaughtered? Either innocent civilians or people that are just sent to the meat grinder because they got conscripted against their will, dragged out of their home and thrown into a van and driven to the front lines? That's what you support. Do you want your tax dollars to go to illegal immigrants that are, in many cases, violent? They're engaging in drug trafficking, human trafficking. Joe Biden lost 300,000 kids. Your tax dollars paid a lot of money in the DHS and the border system, and nothing got done about it. It incentivized people to come to this country. You work hard every day. You take care of a family. You go to work. You pay your mortgage. Your tax dollars you could have more of that. You could have a nicer car, a nicer house, take more vacations, give your kids more stuff. But instead, the government steals your money at gunpoint with threat of imprisonment and says, we're just going to give it to this illegal that just came here. Which, by the way, Elon Musk has been here 22 years. We got to question his allegiance to this country. Jose showed up yesterday, and he's going to get all of your tax dollars, but don't question his loyalties. He's loyal to green. He doesn't deserve to be here. End of discussion. All right, I think we got time for one more clip. I had to go to Ilhan Omar. I've played this one before. I'm going to play it again. This is Ilhan Omar, though. Again, this was related to the Marcy Kaptur clip. I'll never get her name right. Doesn't matter. Marcy questioning Elon Musk's loyalties to the United States. When her own Democrat colleague, Ilhan Omar, we don't have to wonder where her loyalties are. We have her on video saying, I am loyal to Somalia, to the Somalia community first. Never said anything about that. Mary Kaptur, part of the Ukrainian Congress, the Ukrainian Congressional Caucus, putting Ukraine ahead of your American interests. She's fine with that. Nothing to see here. But Ilhan Omar told us my allegiance is for Somalia. But Marcy's just like, that's fine. It's just Elon Musk.
annaga haddii aan nahay dad Soomaali ah waxaan nahay dad isjecel waa laga yaabaa meelaha qaarkood inaan isku xagxagano laakiin haddii runtii ay imaato waxaan nahay dad isku tashto dad walaalo ah dad dhiig lah dad isku og inay Soomaali yihiin inay Muslim yihiin oo iyagana isku hiiliya dadka walaalahoodna u hiiliya marka daraad markii ayaan dhaxdaas markii aan maqalnay in qaar Soomaali ah ama Soomaali sheegato in Ethiopia ay la galeen ma baqaan af Soomaali wixii lagu dhaho agreement heshiis Maxamuud Nuur hadda aniga Soomaaliga badiyo soo ceeb ma aha.
And again, I actually told the story of the Somali community in St. Cloud. They're not well organized. They hate each other. They refuse to live in the same areas. In St. Cloud, Minnesota is my example because I worked up there. 2 separate schools that were basically 100% Somali. And these people, the group that went to one school absolutely hated the group that went to the other school, refused to be settled in the same area of St. Cloud. They demanded their own apartment buildings, their own areas, opposite sides of town, didn't want their kids interacting. Plenty of tribal conflict. And it's like, do I have to make the case that Somalia is a dysfunctional country with warlords controlling different parts? They don't get along with each other. They're tribal. So no, they're organized society. They're so organized. If you go to Somalia, you won't have electricity, running water, pirates off their shores. You'll probably be beheaded. It's so organized. You'll probably see sky rises. Like, absolutely insane. No, Somalia is a disaster. But Ilham Omar, they're representing Somalia first. And Marcy didn't question her. I feel like I should have titled the show The Marcy Show today, because Marcy just laid it all out. Like, this is the absolute fraud. This was Dem logic. Suddenly today, I'm concerned about an immigrant's loyalties to the country that's been here 22 years, referencing Elon Musk. And then we just apparently get to talk about now you're able to question the loyalties of every immigrant, which I have been. I don't think they're coming here to be an American or participate in the American experience. Some are, no doubt, but most of them are coming for freebies. When Donald Trump said, I'm going to send you home, cut off your welfare checks, look at border encounters around 90%. That kind of tells you they didn't, if they actually wanted to be an American, wouldn't they try still, or were they just coming for the free stuff? But there's Marcy. Yep, you can question one immigrant's loyalties. The rest are all here for the right reason. But diversity is our strength until Elon Musk is diverse, and then, you can't have an African American in the Trump administration. Whoops. All right, folks. With that being said, we kicked off a little early today. Appreciate you tuning in. Man, 50 minutes flew by. Turns out I had a lot of strong feelings about Marcy, about Elon, about CNN, about Liz. I didn't get to Joy Reid and Rachel Maddow. I had some holdover clips from our Tuesday show when Joy Reid got fired. Well, yeah, she got fired, actually. Her contract wasn't up. They just actually fired her. So that was a glorious moment. America's going to be a better place now that she is gone and off the airwaves. I don't know where she goes next. I suppose someone will pay her money because of the name recognition. Whatever they pay her, they're going to lose money on. And then, honestly, she couldn't get an audience on MSNBC. Who's going to tune in to Joy Reid at this point? So America will be a better place without Joy Reid's harmful, toxic, deadly narratives. DEI is deadly. So we'll see what happens. It's a great day. Trump keeps winning. The Trump effect is in full swing. MSNBC trying to get sold off. They can't sell Joy Reid because Americans are just done with the media lies and the gaslighting and the hatred and the division-fueled nonsense that's going on in this nation. But with that, folks, I'm going to get out of here. I'm looking at my YouTube. Apparently it was an anomaly. Every day I look at my YouTube count. One day we hit like 10 on YouTube. Every other day is like 1. Maybe it's Robert today. Thanks for tuning in, Robert. Rumble's doing okay, but we kicked off a little early. But this is the American Tribune Live, folks. I had things on my schedule today, so I had to just go live a little bit earlier. But I like streaming live on Rumble. Rumble is good to us, so I want to support Rumble. We're in the Rumble studio. Still working out kinks. Still working out like playing videos and side-by-sides and some screen shares. We will get there. But this is the American Tribune Live with Todd Peterson. I go live every Tuesday and Thursday, usually at 9:30 a.m. Central. If you miss it, though, you can head over to our channel, the American Tribune Live. Make sure you subscribe and follow us, and you can get the notifications and all that. We're on Spotify. We're on Apple. And I drop the podcast on our main Rumble channel, the American Tribune. Much larger community, many more followers. But I wanted to spin off the podcast and start its own main channel so we weren't blowing up feeds everywhere and missing content and stuff like that. But with that being said, it is Thursday. Have a great Thursday. Have a great Friday and a weekend, and we'll see you back here next Tuesday, 9:30 a.m. Central for the American Tribune Live.
Starting on day one, we'll implement a rapid series of bold reforms to restore our nation to full prosperity. We're going to go full prosperity and to build the greatest economy the world has ever seen, just as we had just a short time ago. We will make America powerful again. We will make America wealthy again. We will make America healthy again. We will make America strong again. We will make America proud again. We will make America safe again. And we will make America great again. Great again.